Scientific research shows that mental illness, social rejection, and even fundamental human emotions like jealousy can be catalysts for murder. But can a healthy person with no history of psychological trauma or mental illness be convinced to kill another human being?
Most of us with no criminal background think that we are incapable of turning to extreme violence or murder. But history has shown that even the most innocent seeming can, under certain circumstances, be capable of horrific acts.
Tex Watson was a top student and athlete. Leslie Van Houten, the daughter of a teacher, was extremely popular in secondary school. Susan Atkins sang in her school and church choirs and was known as a quiet and reserved child. Patricia Krenwinkel taught at a Sunday school and hoped to become a nun. All were from middle-class American families. August 1969. Watson, Van Houten, Krenwinkel and Atkins went on a killing spree that left 7 people dead. They were followers of Charles Manson. Apparently normal teenagers somehow had been transformed into violent murderers. The reason why may lie in a fundamental weakness in the human psyche, the powerful need to conform, to belong to a group. In the 1950s, psychologist Dr. Solomon Asch was among the first to examine this phenomenon.
Asch decided he wanted to see whether there was something weird or special about people who followed crazy leaders, or whether the average person, under the right circumstances, could be made to conform.
Asch's conformity experiment is legendary among social psychologists like Dr. Benjamin 𝗧𝗏𝗂𝗍𝗏𝗂.
Solomon Asch's concern was with conformity, and he wanted to see whether he could set up an experimental situation in which people would be led by social pressure to deny the evidence of their own senses and go along with the judgment of a group on a simple question which had to do with the length of lines.
The test began by placing the subject in a room with a group of actors. They were all shown a pair of cards. The first had a line drawn on it, while the second had several lines. All the participants were asked to pick the line that matched the one on the first card.
Everyone else, all of the actors who are pretending to be experimental subjects, give the wrong answer.
B.
After all of these actors have given the wrong answer, the turn comes to the real experimental subject.
The experiment tested whether the real subject would ignore the group and answer correctly, or if the pressure to conform would compel them to give the wrong answer.
It's A.
Initially, many of them gave the correct answer, albeit reluctantly.
Most people hesitate. They exhibit externally the conflict that's going on inside them between the desire to be a part of the group and the desire to follow the evidence of their own eyes.
As the experiment continued, most subjects changed their response.
A. A.
A.
It's A.
What's found is that 75% of the experimental subjects deny the evidence of their own eyesight and conform or go along with what other people have said. It was not because they had legitimate reason to be unsure, but because they were swept away by this power of conformity to the unanimous group opinion.
Among scientists, this behavior is known as groupthink.
A.
It illustrates the power cult leaders can wield when they create a unified group mind among their followers. Charles Manson was able to control his followers even from a distance.
What's interesting and very scary about the Manson family is that Charlie Manson himself was not present at any of the famous murders, Tate murders, the LaBianca murders, that his followers carried out. They were so brainwashed by the cult experience that they would carry out these acts, even when Charlie Manson was not actually there to supervise them. That's a big step further down the road to nightmarish compliance that is seen in cults.
Manson turned a number of seemingly successful, well-adjusted people into murderers. That suggests that inside all of us, there is a certain vulnerability that, should a collection of factors come together, could lead us to commit acts we didn't think possible.